Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, first and foremost, you're probably hearing noise in the background again. That is because I cannot use my headset for some reason. It was just acting up completely, and it would make even more background noise than what you're hearing right now. So I'm using a Bluetooth speaker in order to use as a microphone because it's still better than a laptop microphone. So, that said, this is the best I have right now, unfortunately, so there's not too much I can do about it. At least there's audio this time because the last event I tried to do a discussion video for that and I didn't get any audio whatsoever, so I ended up having to post it on the community tab. So, that was unfortunate, but at least I have sound this time. Second thing I have to say before starting is that some of you may have noticed a test video on my YouTube. That was a test of trying to use Streamlabs. I was picking up audio from like Discord because there's a few of us on there talking, and I didn't figure out how to get the actual video for Kamihime project, which I was trying to stream at the time. It did manage to pick up on Discord, but not on YouTube. But anyways, when I get things running with that, I can start streaming some stuff like Kamihime project. I might be streaming Indivisible or Rabby Ribby. Any of the games that don't need censoring, or at least any parts that don't need censoring, because of course YouTube doesn't like that stuff, and I don't have a Twitch, and even if I did, they don't like it either. So that said, I will try to avoid some stuff that blatantly would need censoring, like War of Venus, but Kamihime Project I can indeed do on YouTube as long as I don't show any of the lewd stuff. And on top of that, I do have way less restriction with Discord. I can stream on that one. So I will end up having the voice chat marked as 18 plus for that one, but you could go to that if you want to see some stuff for me to stream, but has lewds in it. So there's that. Also, I do need to mention that on the way, I don't know if it's after the light one or after the dark one, there will be a Divine Beast Miracle ticket, or at least there should be. I don't know the price for it, otherwise I would tell you in advance to help avoid maybe another fiasco, if those of you remember. But it's something that DMM got, and as far as I know, it is specific for the Divine Beast eidolons. These are some very powerful eidolons. You should get it. Like, without a doubt, you should get it. They have some very, very high stats, they have some very powerful effects, and therefore you should be getting them. Now, keep in mind that you can only use them once per battle, but if you got extra copies, then you can use that one, so you can get, like, if you're lucky enough or just whale on a game enough, you can get, like, say, 5 Byakos. But just keep that in mind that they are some of the best eidolons in the game, especially for sub slots. Do not use them for main slots because their main effects is not that great. But anyways, what I should say about those is that although they are indeed very powerful, they are very, very hard to pull. So if you are able to get that, then do so. If not, then I hope luck is with you. But anyways, getting into the event itself, this is going to be a dark base event. Anybody has seen my videos before, you already know I'm going to have a field day on events like this because literally nothing in the game can really faze me when it comes to dark elemental content. So yeah, but anyways, this is a raid event, so you will be able to get assistance with this if you're not strong enough. So you're just limited to how much you really try to do anything in the event. And worst case scenario, you can leech just by going into a raid, attacking, and then leaving out of it by going back to home page. However, if you can indeed kill the raid boss, I recommend you do that because it doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. They don't get that strong unless you're trying to solo, and even then there's a limit. But either way, you should be able to get some of the free stuff from this. That said, there is a free SR Kamihime. get her because of the simple fact that it does not take that much to get these. All of the free Kamihime from these raid events take like roughly 3 raids or so at most. If you're unlucky, 5. So it doesn't take much to really do anything for those. I will go over the other stuff though as we go further down the list, but I can say without a doubt that this eidolon is definitely worth it. Now then, starting off, of course, it's the same old story. You go through the little event scenes and whatnot. Eventually go into standard, get materials from that to open up expert, get materials from expert to open up Ragnarok. This is going to be the same thing I say for a lot of events until we do get the extra difficulties down the line, so keep that in mind. Also, I should mention that you do indeed need to be certain ranks to open up stuff. It shouldn't matter too much because the ranks are low, but either way, you can still jump into any other person's raids that they start as long as you see them on your list. So that said, ranks really shouldn't matter for this. But anyways, Marchosias is the one that's back. I should mention that. She had a fire version, and this time it is going to be dark. I also should mention that Marduk was originally a thunder Kamihime, and she's now a she is thunder SSR. I don't necessarily know what element she is just yet, but we'll go over her as well. But she is an SR this time around. They've done that sometimes. But anyways, going into the fights themselves. Standard, Marchosias has 850,000 HP. There is a lot of orbs before she does anything, so you gotta keep that in mind. But when she does an enemy, well, I shouldn't say enemy burst, I should really say overdrive because that's become the norm for us. But her normal mode nuke is going to be random 3 hits. Her raging is going to be AoE. Now, the thing is, she can invalidate some debuffs from her by the looks of it. And then on top of that, increase the damage she can do, like up the number of attacks or whatnot. Then, as the fight goes along, she will reduce her orb counts. And then eventually start increasing her damage when she has full orbs. So be pretty careful of that one. Because this also looks like it's going to be the same thing for Expert and even Ragnarok. It's just the fact that you're going to start taking more damage. Much, much more damage. Now for Expert, she has 7,200,000 HP, and for Ragnarok she has 21 million HP. Because of the orb removal thing that she can do on herself, her max count, she can reduce herself to 3. You can push it back up to 4, or even start off the fight with 6. But she will immediately try to remove one out the gate, because one triggers for when she has more than 40% HP, and the other one's for when she has less than 40% HP remaining. So it's going to happen eventually, unless you could just immediately kill her in one turn. At which point you won't have to worry about it anyway. And she also starts off being able to invalidate some statuses as well. So you have to keep that in mind. You're going to have a little bit of a problem debuffing her at the start. So I hope you're not too debuff reliant, or you're just going to have to spam them. Preferably if you really are trying to get rid of all the debuff barriers, and Mordred's the way to go. Otherwise, get your damage-based Kamihime and maybe some healing ones, or defensive ones. And the same goes for your souls too. Mordred, definitely. Shingen. And I should say that if you do have a S-class soul, like say Medea or Yuri or Charlemagne, there's a pretty good chance that you are over-leveled, so... And I mean even for the Ragnarok fight. So that said, if you have one of them, then you're probably not going to have any problems whatsoever. Now then, going through the different rewards, same list as before. This is also not going to change until they up more difficulties for this stuff. So if you're trying to get just the basic SSR stuff, 50 divine souls, 55 devil souls. You get divine from standard and expert. You get devil from Ragnarok. If you're trying to get all the gacha tickets, you need 140 divine and 82 devil. If you want the dragonic eye shards, you need 200 divine and 90 devil. If you want all the magic jewels, 225 divine, 95 devil. If you want to finish the entire list, 250 divine and 100 devil. And also I should mention too that given how these events are, it's also not a bad idea to overfarm them in order to get more gacha tickets for the specific raid event, because of the fact that it gives you some extra stuff. Like, it will give you gems, it will give you magic jewels, it will give you plus weapons, it will give you all general sorts of stuff to upgrade your characters and whatnot. And then on top of that, you might get extra SSR stuff as well. So keep that in mind. Speaking of which, Marchosias, her dark version, very, very good to have because she has a lot of base attack power. She gets a good amount of base HP. The main thing about her is the fact that she gives 40% elemental attack along with 20% burst gauge rate. So that will mean that whenever you have her equipped as a main or a friend, you're getting like an extra 2 burst gauge per attack. I don't know for sure if it applies to the damage you take as well, but definitely the attacks is more noteworthy because just one of her means that a triple attack will give you 36 burst gauge instead of 30. So you almost got a free 10 just off of that. And then it will stack, so you can get 2 of her and basically have an extra 4. So that would make it 42. And then on top of that, even further, is if, say for some instance, you have a character that can increase burst gauge rate as well. I know there's a few, but they're usually on other elements, I do believe. If you have one of them, it will also stack their buffs on top of this as well. It is not too far-fetched to get upwards of 70 if done right. 70 burst gauge increase. So that can almost double what you get per hit. So that said, it can indeed help you out getting full bursts a lot faster. Me personally, I'd say this is one of the best event eidolons you can get, but not every element gets them. So keep that in mind. Also, when you summon her, she increases burst performance, period, point blank. So that means for a few turns, the damage you deal with burst along with the soft cap will both be increased. I don't know how much it is for the soft cap. I do know that for the damage, it is likely 30% like her fire version. But as far as I can tell, this is a good help if you don't have exceed weapons. It's just that you're going to have to be relying on summoning her from time to time. But she is worth using in a fight, so either way, sub-slot or main effect, she's very good. Now, this is kind of interesting with this SSR weapon for a few reasons. First off, it does not final break, but here's why I say you may or may not need it. It is a hammer, and if you have past event weapons, primarily from Union events, you could have another hammer to help towards a Dark Hammer grid. So, that said, this may or may not be worth it. It depends. On top of that, if you somehow have this equipped to a soul, they will block one status off themselves when they burst, which would be an interesting effect. Again, you're probably not going to need that because soul weapons exist, of course, but it is pretty interesting to have that. So who knows, maybe you might find a use for it as a main thing. You'll most likely have it as a sub slot if you have to get it. So that said, it is a hammer, and the Phantom Hammer effect is a whopping 30% assault if you happen to max the Phantom Hammer out. So this could be worthwhile getting, possibly even over farming if you really want to go at that route. So it depends. It depends on what you want to do with it. There are better weapons out there, definitely, but this could lead to some decent stuff. So it's really up to you whether or not you want this hammer. Also, the weapon that SR Marduk gives is White, it is a medium assault. You may or may not need this, because it depends on how strong your white grid is. And then free light weapons are getting a lot worse recently, so it's really dependent on how far you've been in the game. I still say the Guardian weapons are better than this, but it's all up to you. And then this one is a little bit interesting as well too, because it is an assault gun for dark, but there are quite a few gun-based setups for dark as well, primarily the Dark Guardian. So this could be a placeholder until then. There's a lot of stuff that could really be placeholder weapons, if you really ask me. The only one that isn't would definitely be this staff that's like Defender. You probably don't need it, especially if you are like leeching or farming the Dark Guardian. So keep that in mind. But going through with the missions never really change either, except for the element you have to use. So 3 times start your own raid, 3 times jump into somebody else. You get daily stuff for that, which is half elixirs and energy seeds respectively. You get extra gotcha tickets for the event raid if you happen to do expert with nothing but R rarity Kamihime. The soul doesn't matter, so you can even use a 4th tier soul if you want, which will be the S-class souls like Medea and all that. Or you can go into Ragnarok and do that with anyone you want, but they have to be lightning element, as in thunder element. Which is interesting because that does allow you to use the Thunder Marduk I've mentioned before. So those 2 missions, you have to do it on your own, no help whatsoever, so be absolutely sure you can do quite a bit of damage if you're going to try those. However, because it is extra raid tickets, those can be grabbed elsewhere. You can probably farm a good 80 raid tickets pretty quickly, so keep that in mind. But anyways, that's all for that. I am going to go into what SR Marduk does. So, as I said before, she is a white Kamihime, and she is free, so definitely get her. But, interestingly enough, right out the gate, I'm already seeing something where she gives HP recovery to herself whenever she bursts. That is actually quite helpful for a lot of different Kamihime, because of the fact that usually they're coupled with Kamihime that can consume their own HP to get boosts. And in her case, she can put a wall on one ally, then consume some of her HP to put a wall on another ally, because the ability will come immediately off a cooldown. And then she's got it seems like this next move is damage based on how many allies have the wall. So, that said, if you can keep her HP up, then she can start putting the wall up a lot. And it also gives a pursuit effect as well, which is pretty good. Pursuit is an extra damage hit off of normal attacks. So, say you did like something like 100,000 damage. Going with the 10% of suit, you'll get pursuit. You'll get an extra 10,000 off of that one hit. So, that said, you can constantly maintain a wall on at least one character, because it stays up as long as the cooldown. But you can just use her 3rd skill and just immediately take it off a cooldown at the cost of HP. Again, if you can keep her HP up, especially she can burst pretty often, then this is pretty spammable. If you ask me, this is almost at the level of what an SSR can do. It is almost at the level of what an SSR can do. It's just barely shy of what an SSR kit probably should have. So this is pretty strong for a free Kamihime, if you ask me. Definitely worth it. Even if you don't end up using her, there's still content that may end up needing that, so keep that in mind. Tower is always a very good example, even though the next tower that Light has advantage is next year. But again, you never know. Plus, she's free. There's really no choice. There's really no reason not to get her. So if you don't get her, it's just by pure choice, which means you literally did nothing for the event. But definitely worth it. And then the main thing that people tend to overlook is the fact that Kamihime also gets scenes, and if you're skipping those scenes, you're skipping out on magic jewels. Me personally, I have over 300 Kamihime now, over 330 at this point, and you gotta multiply that by at least 50, and that's how many magic jewels there is. Now, if they're SR or SSR, you can get 100 magic jewels from them, because they have two instances of that. That really racks up. Assuming all of that was at least SR, that means I have over a free 10 draw worth of magic jewels. You see where that adds up. So I have to remind some people, because not everybody does it, that free Kami, he may still give you those jewels. It is still worth getting. But anyways, that's all for this video. You know more of this is going to come soon, because of course my light team's going to blow through it. But I will do that Ragnarok fight, because I have a pretty strong Thunder team. I don't have the most optimal Thunder weapons, but they should be able to handle it. And then on top of that, I am quite curious to see how Yorimitsu works without her soul weapon. So there's that, because I only have it on light right now. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon. In fact, I might even do it with Shingen instead of Yorimitsu. Who knows? But that's all for now, guys. Take care.